So, what if I told you our whole idea of progress is completely broken? I mean, what if every single step we take to try and fix the world, every movement, every grand idea, is actually somehow making things worse? Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful idea that suggests our very best intentions might be leading us down a path we never wanted to be on. It all kicks off with a simple story, one you've probably heard before. Someone with a huge heart and the best of intentions sees a butterfly struggling to get out of its chrysalis. They think, oh, that poor thing, let me help, and they carefully snip it open. But here's the thing, that struggle isn't a bug in the system. It is the system. By saving the butterfly, they've actually doomed it. It never builds the strength it needs to fly, and it dies. Now, let's just scale that up for a second. What if humanity is that butterfly? And what if our entire history of so-called progress, all our revolutions, our ideologies, our big solutions, is just one long, well-meaning mistake that's killing our real potential to transform? This leads us to a concept the source material calls the factory of duality. And it's a wild idea. It's the notion that our societies are basically built on a machine that doesn't just manage conflict, it actively manufactures it, often from the very attempts we make to get rid of it. So how does this factory work? Well, look at history through this lens. It's not about growing up, it's about growing downwards. We start with something kind of broad, like polytheism. Then we progress, right? We specialize into monotheism. But oops, that creates a new duality, the one true God versus all the false ones. Then that one idea splinters into big schisms, which then crack into even smaller subschisms. And then, boom, it just explodes into the thousands of modern isms we have today. Every step feels like an improvement, but it's really just digging us deeper and deeper into division. And here's the engine, right? The actual machine in action. A problem pops up. Let's say machismo. So an opposing solution is created, feminism. Or you have the problems of capitalism, so communism is born to fix it. But do you see the loop? We're not actually solving anything fundamental. We're just creating an equal and opposite force. We're staying on the same battlefield, just reinforcing the idea that there has to be a battle in the first place. There's a name for this whole process, social entropy. It's this idea that as we keep creating more and more labels, more fragmented identities, we lose our overall sense of unity. We end up with a mountain of information, but way less meaning. And here's the really crucial part. This state of chaos isn't just happening by itself. A world broken into a million tiny opposing pieces is incredibly easy to manipulate. Okay, so if creating all this division is just the symptom, what's the actual disease? Well, this gets us to the absolute core of the problem. We have a deep, fundamental intolerance for the process itself. We just can't stand that messy, undefined in-between state, the part inside the chrysalis. We get this, of course. It's a caterpillar. It's a fixed state. We can label it. We can categorize it. We know what it does. Simple. And we totally get this too, the final product. It's beautiful, it's defined, we can name it, admire it. It's a butterfly. Done. But what about this? You know, the gooey, soupy, unclassifiable mess inside the chrysalis where the caterpillar literally dissolves into nothing before it becomes something else? We don't really have a word for that, do we? The source material gives it a name, though. It's called the cloud of probabilities. It's this state of pure potential, of just becoming. And that state is deeply, profoundly threatening to any system that's built on fixed, solid identities. And this is the absolute key to everything. Our systems, our societies, our politics, our religions, they are fundamentally designed to interrupt this process. They just can't handle the in-between. They need to slap a label on you. Are you with us or are you against us? They can't use a process, they can only use a result. So what do? They force the chrysalis open way too early, and all that amazing potential collapses into a premature and usually dead definition. So, if we're all trapped in this crazy cycle, how do we even begin to wrap our heads around it, let alone find a way out? Well, the source material offers two really powerful models to help us map out the whole cosmic game. The first one is a cool retake on the Wheel of Samsara, not as some endless, miserable repetition, but more like a cosmic breath. And the second uses the idea of those Russian nesting dolls to help us understand how all these different worldviews actually fit together. Okay, so look at the wheel this way. Half of the cycle is what's called entropic. It's the universe breathing out,
a necessary journey into details, specialization, and fragmentation. That's where we are right now. But the other half is syntropic. That's the universe breathing in, the journey back to unity and integration. Progress isn't a straight line up. It's a cycle. Now for the nesting dolls. Imagine every single worldview, every single ism is one doll. The problem isn't that we have a bunch of different dolls. That's actually fine. The problem is when someone picks up their one tiny doll and screams that it's the only doll, or that it's the biggest doll that all the others are supposed to fit inside of. They mistake their one little piece for the whole puzzle. Which brings us to our final and, honestly, the most challenging part of this whole thing, the forbidden direction. If our whole society is in that entropic phase, just rushing headfirst towards more and more fragmentation, then the only way to find any kind of unity is to, it's to turn around and go against the current. This quote from the source material just nails it. It redefines the whole concept of yoga. It's not about stretching your body. It's about the spiritual act of union. It means having the incredible strength and balance to stand right in the middle of the tension between opposites, with one foot on one side and one foot on the other, without collapsing into either camp. And that right there is why it's a forbidden direction. Because the person who can actually do that, the person who can live in that union, they become completely useless to the systems that run on duality. You can't recruit them. You can't make them a soldier for your ism, because they see the good and the bad on all sides. They simply cannot be manipulated. So the ultimate path, the real journey, isn't about fighting harder for your team. It's not about making sure the good guys finally beat the bad guys. It's about a total shift in consciousness, about rising to a whole new level where the very idea of us versus them, that whole axis of division, just becomes irrelevant. And let's be super clear about this. This isn't about an act of rebellion against society. No way. That would just be creating another ism, another opposite. According to the source, this is a quiet, personal act of return. It's a journey back to that whole integrated state of awareness we were all born with, before the world started screaming at us to pick a side. So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. In a world that seems to be rushing faster and faster and faster towards fragmentation, is this quiet, personal, forbidden act of going against the current the only real way back home?